Hi there. If you're trying to join How to Waste Less Food, you are in the right virtual space. I'll tell you a little bit about myself in just a moment here, but just wanted to say thank you for tuning in to this virtual programming with Nashville Earth Day. What an exciting holiday, and I'm so honored to be here with you today. So, who's speaking? My name is Lindsay. I'm actually a local registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist. I have been serving the Middle Tennessee community for over a decade now, which is crazy to say. I guess that makes me a native now. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and by day, I am an employee wellness expert. And by night, I suppose I could say I am doing all things related to meal planning. So, I'm really excited to bring to you a topic that is always on my mind as I call myself an avid meal planner. So, this is what we're going to get into today, pretty quick and simple. I want you to be able to recognize the current state of food waste, and we're going to review some strategies to start reducing your own food waste at home. So, let's learn a bit more. I found this quote: waste is only waste if we waste it. From the great Will I Am, which is kind of comical, but I think that this quote really is so true when it comes to food waste in particular. So I really liked it. Okay, so we have a food waste problem. What is food waste? We're probably on the same page, but to tell you a little bit more, food waste is any food that is grown or produced for human consumption, but then isn't eventually eaten. Food waste can happen anywhere along the supply chain, from food waste that happens at the farm, at the food manufacturer, to consumer facing businesses like at the grocery store, at restaurants, and of course in our own homes. So, who accounts for a good majority of our food waste is those consumer facing businesses like grocery stores, like restaurants, as well as in our own homes. So, you see the statistic there I have on my slide deck. The consumer facing businesses and food waste that we create at home, those account for both over 80% of all food waste, which is an astounding statistic. What else did I want to share with you guys? When it comes to American families, they are throwing out about 25% of the food and beverages that they buy. So imagine going to the grocery store right now, right after you check out, throw a quarter of what you just purchased in the trash. That is basically what we're doing. In fact, when it comes to dollars and cents, this equates to $1,300 to $2,300 wasted every year for a family of four. I mean, guys, it's a tough time right now. Just imagine what you could do with an extra $13 in your pocket. $1,300 in your pocket. You could probably do not a lot of damage with $13. So now that I told you a little bit more about what is going on with the food waste problem, certainly just scratching the surface here, I wanted you to take a moment of pause, just so you can relate this topic to your own life. Think about, why do you end up throwing away food? Maybe kind of think about last week. What went into the garbage? Why did it get there? Is it because you bought too much of an ingredient and then it ended up going bad because you didn't use it up? Did you forget about the fresh ingredients that you bought and they were, you found them in the crisper drawer, only to find them spoiled, and perhaps maybe you had already made your next grocery store trip and that's when you discovered the moldy bag of salad greens, for example. There are many reasons why we waste food, and it really starts with an awareness. So this is a great thought starter, truly, to help you become and reflect a little bit more about how food waste shows up in your own life. So here are some of the most common reasons why we waste food in no particular order. So I'm just gonna kind of list them out for you, as you can see on the screen. Number one, not practicing repurposing of ingredients. Let's say we had spaghetti night, we made too many noodles, but then we didn't do anything with those extra noodles. We just tossed them in the trash. So not practicing repurposing of these extra ingredients. Number two here, improper food storage. So preserving foods properly, for example, keeping apples in the fridge versus on the countertop, can keep foods from going bad quickly. I 100% have been guilty of this one, so I have some strategies for you later. Number three here, confusion around date labels. This accounts for a good chunk, about 20% of the food we waste at home. So I'll explain a little bit more about what I feel is most important for you to know around date labels, but they are confusing. Used by, sell by, best by date. Like, what do all these things mean? I'll unpack that for you. Number four here, unplanned food purchases and buying in bulk account for over half of the types of foods that we purchase. And it's something that is also a cause to food waste. So we're really, really fortunate in our country, even here in Middle Tennessee, to have a lot of options available to us where we can buy things in different varieties. We have lots of options. We can buy different sizes of things, but this can also be a problem if we are not really careful and intentional about how we utilize those purchases. And then number five here, probably not surprising, but a lot of us don't have access or the resources to composting centers, or we have our own barriers to composting at home when it comes to recycling that food waste. So now that we've given some insight as to why food waste happens in the first place, let's get to the good stuff that I know you really want to hear about. Let's waste less food, AKA, this is what we would call food waste diversion, which is a fancy term for methods used to reduce any food waste that you may anticipate having before it actually occurs, as well as reusing food to its fullest potential before discarding it. So I'm just going to say waste less food, but that's probably the technical term they like to use out there. So today I'm going to touch on some strategies that you can start using today after you log off here from this virtual program, including, I'll say all these things again, but keeping clean kitchen spaces, practicing of meal planning, smart grocery shopping, and proper food storage to keep your food waste to a minimum, excuse me. So the goal here, guys, really is twofold. To use up foods that you already have purchased so it doesn't go to waste and you're wasting those dollar bills. And then B is to create as little food waste as possible along the way from what you've already purchased, what you plan to purchase. It may not be possible to be 100% trash free, but you can definitely start taking steps in the right direction. So what I'm going to share with you today, certainly we could go into more detail, and I know there are even more tips to share, but I feel like these are the top things I would share with somebody who says, listen, I'm really serious. I want to stop wasting food and I want to stop wasting money. Here is what I would encourage them to do. Let's start with this first food waste reduction strategy, which is find out what you already have on hand. Find out what you already have on hand. So this idea of let's access our current inventory of what we already have, and we can achieve this, friends, by doing a quick clean out. Don't get overwhelmed yet, but a quick clean out of your pantry, freezer, and refrigerator spaces. Cleaning out your kitchen spaces, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at, number one, just how little time this actually takes. It's not going to take you days on days on days. But also you'll be pleasantly surprised by the incredible food finds you'll uncover. I'm the kind of person who I like to go to the grocery store and peruse all the new items. If I go to a specialty store that I haven't been to in a long time, I'm really prone to make those unplanned purchases. So I always find gems and goodies in my pantry, my freezer, sometimes my refrigerator as well. So what you want to do when you clean out your pantry, freezer, and refrigerator is, of course, throw away spoiled, expired, freezer burned items, all of those things are no longer good. Go ahead and toss them. But you also want to set aside items that will be going bad soon, and or make a list of foods that need to be used up soon. So you want the aim of this clean out is really to find out, like I said, what do you already have on hand that you can use up soon before it goes to waste, ends up in a landfill, and before you waste away those dollar bills as well. So pro tip when it comes to that freezer section of your, sorry, I lost my place in my notes. When it comes to your freezer section, pro tip for your freezer spaces are notorious for being hard to see everything that's inside of your freezer. Like that would be the number one purchase if I could for my kitchen, if I had the space, is an extra deep freezer. But anyways, we tend to kind of stack things on top of each other, push things one in front of another. So if you want to stay organized, consider making a list of all of the items you currently have in your freezer and post it on your fridge for future reference. This does not have to be anything fancy. It literally could be on a piece of paper. You have this amount of ground beef. You found this many fillets of salmon. You got some frozen fruit bags in there, whatever you have on your list. I also see some really cool dry erase boards or magnetic dry erase sheets that you can add to your refrigerator there. So you can kind of, more easily scratch it off and then update it. So guys, this strategy, finding out what you already have on hand by cleaning out your kitchen spaces, is not about making these different areas of your home photo worthy. In fact, the intent behind this clean out is to find foods that are about to go bad so you don't waste them or your money. I think I already said that. So feel free to involve others in your house to make this a game of sorts, to find foods that are still good to eat, especially if you have little ones or grandkids. And if you find items that you no longer want, you can start a sack where you can donate some of these items to a local food bank or food pantry. This is also an opportune time to organize these high volume areas of your kitchen so that they work better for you and your lifestyle. Like maybe you've been meaning to get to that pantry clean out. Now you really can, and you can reorganize things so that they better fit you and what your needs are day to day. Okay, next strategy I want to talk about. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had a few more things that I wanted to share. So let me take a step back. As you're organizing, another pro tip is to, oh, yes, I'm glad I didn't skip over this one. Stock your ingredients first in, first out. If anybody's ever worked in food service, you've probably heard this one. The acronym is FIFO, kind of fun. So this idea of foods with a nearing expiration date, so about to go bad soon or in the near future, you want those to be first in your pantry or first in your fridge, first in your freezer, versus those ingredients with an expiration date that's far out. It can kind of go back further into your pantry, freezer or refrigerator. Try to say those things 3 times fast. It's really, really hard actually. So for example, something like maybe you buy yogurt every week. Take the few seconds, guys, to pull out the older yogurt cups, put in those newer ones so that you're stocking your inventory first in, first out. Also, aim to do this clean out regularly. Don't make it a once a year thing, because at that point you you definitely will have expired things that you want to throw out. So there is no right frequency, so I don't have a recommendation around that, but you might consider tacking it on to another occasional kitchen related chore. For example, your monthly deep clean of your microwave. It might be also good to say, okay, let me take a quick peek through my pantry, freezer, or refrigerator. Okay, yes, now we're ready to move on. So remember, I talked about confusion around date labels contributes to 20% of the food we waste in our home. That is a good chunk, guys. So when it comes to date labels, the important thing that you know is that it is all based on quality and not safety, which is actually really good news. For example, you can see that best if used by or best if used before is when a product will be best for flavor and again for quality. Sell by actually has nothing to do with us as a consumer. Sell by is something for the store to tell them how long to display the product. Use by, again, is the last date recommended for the use of the product while at peak quality. So if we use it afterwards, it won't have its best quality, if you will. And then freeze by, that one's actually pretty self-explanatory. When to freeze a product, again, to maintain peak quality. So this should be a little bit of a sigh of relief. Again, these are reflective of quality and not safety. The bottom line is if the date has passed, a product should still be safe if it was handled properly until you start to see spoilage. So we definitely want to still use our own discretion. If we start to see something has an off odor, a weird flavor, certainly, not usual texture. All of these things happen with naturally occurring bacteria in food products, and at that point, that might be some signs of spoilage, and then that's when we would want to toss it. But there have been plenty of instances where I check something out. I don't see any signs of spoilage, even though it is past its best buy date, and it's still good to use. So what else? Foods, oh, I wanted to say that foods can typically be donated after their date has passed if there are, again, no signs of spoilage. So sometimes, especially during this pandemic, when there was a lot of stockpiling of different ingredients, because we know that our grocery stores were running low, if you have found you're overflowing in something, some type of food ingredient that you don't need anymore, but it has passed its use by date, for example, typically food banks and food pantries will take those things, check with them, but it is still, again, it's still safe. The quality is not as good as it was, but it's still safety, which is an important thing. Okay, so I could totally talk on this topic for hours and on hours, probably, but I'll keep it short just to this idea of meal planning to help you reduce food waste. So, the reason why I love meal planning, guys, is because it encourages you to be intentional about your food choices. I'm purchasing this to use for this meal or this snack or whatever. The practice of meal planning can help you achieve, like I said, a variety of goals, whether it be budget related, health related, for example. But here are some of my recommendations that are specific to meal planning to keep food waste to a minimum. So, plan meals and snacks that use up those expiring ingredients. So, this is where those food finds from your pantry, refrigerator, freezer clean out come into play. Yay, see, it all connects, it all has a reason. If you're interested, I do have a free weekly meal planner printable over on my website, themealplanningmethod.com. You don't have to use anything fancy to meal plan though. So be sure you make a grocery list that really calls out everything you need for the upcoming week when it comes to your meals and snacks. This is really so that you're not left scrambling at the store or again, buying random things that don't really have rhyme or reason and go together. Um, Unrelated to your pantry clean out, it is good practice, I feel like at least, to do a quick check of your pantry, refrigerator, and freezer for the items that you are looking for, just to see if you have that on hand. For example, maybe you need pasta sauce for upcoming, again, spaghetti night or whatever, and you find that you have several jars already in your pantry. No need to kind of keep buying up on those things unless you just want to and you have this space. This is a great tip, do include quantities on your shopping list so that you don't underbuy anything. That's also not a great situation, but more importantly, don't overbuy on any particular ingredient. And then this one's really hard, but when it comes time to shop, aim to only buy what you need and what you plan for. This will help you stay on budget. And of course, it will help you avoid unnecessary food waste on down the road. So, couple tips there when it comes to the practice of meal planning for reducing food waste. Okay, just a couple more things here. Next, I want to touch on is storing your food properly. So I'm sharing about this practice because it's important to wasting less food, yes, but it's also important because you don't want to get sick from food. And getting a food poisoning is actually a very common occurrence. One in about six Americans each year will get food poisoning. So we don't want to do that. There's plenty of other things in this world to be concerned with when it comes to our health. Let's not let this be that thing. So as I mentioned earlier, storing foods properly can keep foods from going bad quickly and ending up in your trash. Instead of friends spatting off a long list of where to put what, I actually think it's best to approach proper food storage by finding out what you typically buy for your household week to week. For example, let's say that you find that you buy fresh broccoli frequently. Get familiar with how to store fresh broccoli over on the Food Keeper app. And so I'll show you here. Let's see. The website is actually foodsafety.gov, and you could probably type that into Google and foodsafety.gov Food Keeper app, or just Google Food Keeper app. And yes, you can download the phone app, but let me tell you, there's also kind of a web app version. So if you don't want to add any extra thing to your smartphone right now, don't worry, you don't have to download this app. It is free, but it's super, super helpful. So I use that example of broccoli. It tells me that I need to refrigerate broccoli and I need to plan to use it up within 3 to 5 days. So that can also help me with meal planning. If I think through, okay, the meal that I wanted to do, maybe it's like a broccoli beef stir fry. I need to plan for that earlier on in my week versus later on, since the broccoli might go bad by then. I also thought this was a great tip from myrecipes.com. This author said, store your produce in a place similar to the climate in which it grows. And make that connection between the real world and your groceries. It will help extend their lives and keep them fresher for longer. This is super simple, and it also helps you think about where your food grows. So I actually really love that. It's a way to kind of educate yourself about different foods, where they grow, not just yourself, but the rest of the family, the kids, the grandkids, all of the above. And yes, please use this resource to help you store foods properly. Okay, I think this is my last tip I've got for you. So hopefully you're still hanging in there with me. The last food waste strategy I want to call out is saving fresh foods that are going bad. And so I don't know if it's too small on the screen there, but you can, hopefully you can see there's like a really wrinkly red bell pepper on the screen. This has happened to me more times than I care to admit, but we want to, of course, avoid food waste when possible. So a couple of ideas. You might designate a space in your fridge for foods that are going bad soon, so that you have that visual reminder of not to forget about these things. Don't forget about this bell pepper. Don't forget about these salad greens, whatever. Also, you can aim to use these ingredients up or freeze them later. Produce that's past its prime may actually still be fine for cooking. I don't know about this bell pepper. I've used ones that are less wrinkly and still use them in cooking. But for dishes like soups, casseroles, stir fries, sauces, different baked goods. I'm thinking about really brown bananas, for example, or pancakes, smoothies. Those types of things really lend themselves well to ingredients that are not the best of the best of the best or at its prime anymore. So that's a-okay for some of these dishes. Also, remember that the freezer is your food waste friend. The Food Keeper app that I just mentioned actually has additional info on how long you can store different items in the freezer to give you a little guidance in that arena as well. So my last suggestion here is as you're trying to, save these foods before they end up in the trash, it might also require you to be flexible with your meal plans. Like, oh gosh, this, I don't know, maybe you were going to use some coleslaw mix in a egg roll bowl dish and it's kind of going bad and you had it planned for a couple days, like maybe you switch it so that you plan that tonight and then you save another meal for later if possible. Or maybe you end up freezing some foods for a couple days later. So see what you can do. It's not a perfect science, but any effort can certainly help when it comes to the food waste problems that we're experiencing. I want you guys to be able to keep money in your pockets and to be able to use up all that nourishing food for you, your families, and for all those meals and snacks that you need. So last thing I'll share is just some more resources to check out that can help support your food waste journey. Get Food Smart TN is from our friends over at the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, excuse me. There's some other good resources over on foodsafety.gov. Please check out secondharvestmidtn.org to find a food bank near you. Also foodpantries.org for food pantries near you. And then myself, please don't be afraid to reach out if you have questions, concerns, you want to show off your food waste efforts. You can find me at the Meal Planning Method over on Facebook and Instagram, as well as over at the Nourishwell Network for live classes and on-demand nutrition related classes. Thanks so much for tuning into this virtual programming. I hope you have an amazing Nashville Earth Day. Thanks, guys.